Might.
Hello, everybody.
We are back.
We are back. We are
Once
on a
again.
streak, two in a row streak of streaming. So that's awesome.
The first, no, was it like, no, it's not the first time, but
I think we've done it twice or so in a row before. Let's see if we can
Yeah.
next week manage to get 3 in a row. That would be nice.
Ooh, we should frame that. We should put it up somewhere and print ourselves a certificate. How awesome we are. We deserve
Exactly.
it. We deserve it for sure.
So, how are you doing, Stephen? What's been happening since we streamed last week?
It went at least here in Central Europe. It went very cold. I do not know how it is at your place, but last week when we streamed, we had 25 degrees Celsius, and now we are at like 5 or 4 degrees. And I do prefer summer over winter. So well, that's also not true because I don't like mosquitoes. I do prefer spring over winter, to be more precise. And yeah, but I guess it's typical April weather. So yeah. You seem it's not as warm outside. You have a very thick pullover. At least it looks like that.
Yeah. No, it's snowing right now. So yeah, if you have plus degrees, I wouldn't complain too much. But yeah.
Fair enough.
So I guess today the agenda would be more, I continued work on, we sort of we finished something last week. We finished the, going to an I-rendered component for everything, but there's certainly some low-hanging fruits that we didn't take care of yet. So I think that's on the agenda today. I don't know. I saw there was some activity on, issues list and all the things. Should we just do a quick pruning of the issues before we get going with the coding?
Yeah, sure. If you want, I can also
just to check if there's a burning platform.
Yeah, let me share my screen if you want.
Yeah, do you wanna? Yes, you can be the driver.
I will just make it
back and Copilot
a bit larger. Is it large enough? You can also use Copilot or.
Yeah, I'll just replace myself with AI.
Okay,
Stephen and his AI. Yes, I think it might be large enough. Maybe can you bump it one more? What we can also do is let's switch to.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, size-wise should be
awesome. Yeah. So this one we discussed last time, and maybe we have time today to tackle that. Probably it's not one of the bigger ones, but yeah, let's if you have time, we can do this at the end. And check what's going on. Reproduce and check where the code is falling apart. That is at least where we agree on. That seems like a bug, and then there were multiple discussions open. There was one thing here, Blazor server app component, and here getting another reference exception. I skimmed through both today. The problem here, so the user has an issue somewhere in render component, and if you look at the stack trace, you can see it's somewhere inside the production code of its component. So it's a bit tricky to say what's going on without seeing the full code or part of the production code. So.
Maybe, I don't know, I think we had a contact to some of the Ratson people. Maybe we can just tag them. I think it's two guys from Bulgaria that's running Ratson, so we just tag them. But yeah,
I would wait, to be honest.
It seems like a user problem more than a bUnit problem.
Exactly.
Certainly other people using Ratson that are using bUnit as well. So that seems like a null exception that is not really probably a setup step that is missing.
Exactly, like you mentioned, there's some get item clause. I mean, I'm not so proficient with Rudson, but imagine there's something which is required in theory, and the user doesn't supply that. So I do think it's more user code related than Rudson related. But let's see if the person is coming back. Yeah, then we can see. But yeah, he's just reporting that this line is basically breaking its code. But obviously, if you call render component, we are also calling your initialize setup, the on parameter set, the on after. So all of this stuff, given that it's all synchronous, is running. So there's potential area or big area where this bug or issue, not reference, except popping up. So it's tricky.
And it seems like they're using MS test as well, so there might be some edge cases that we need to be. But most likely that's a user error, not a bUnit thing. But
exactly.
It's good work responding though. It's I definitely see more activity in our discussion forum the last couple of months than
that's very good.
So definitely uptick in usage pattern.
Exactly. And then we have this one where someone has kind of this protected session storage or protected local storage. So we're talking about Blazor server here, where you can just put something in the session or local storage, and the user has here some session storage, pardon me. And so he sets it up. This is the component under test. Pretty straightforward stuff. And here in the test, that's basically based on a Stack Overflow issue from 2 years ago. The basic idea here is to mock out that thing. And the user is then seeing, bUnit is complaining that something you should call this and this, but it's not set up. And for sure, I don't see it. It could be that.
So I've looked just quickly at the code, just went to source.net, and it's let me steal the screen share real quick so I can show people where I tend to go and look. So if I want to look at some Microsoft code, I will jump in here and just search for the type. And if it's part of the ASP.NET Core or .NET framework, it'll show up here. And you can see this is the protected session storage type, and it inherits from its sealed. So that does make mocking a slight problem. Protected browser storage, it inherits from that. That's an abstract class, so that's definitely mockable, but then it requires, an IJS runtime and scroll in here, iData protect. But if he would instead in his if he would instead in his production code in his component would inject this into his type, into his component, he could then during testing he could create a mock of this. That'll solve the problem for him because he has complete control. Sorry, I have a phone call coming in, so I'll just jump off for 1 second.
Yeah, that's fine. I forgot to put my screen on. Oh, how can I do this? Wait, now I'm confused. Wait, let me do this really quick. I can take over my screen. Ha! I'm so good. So if folks maybe don't know, yes, you can use this website, but the cool thing is if you go to .NET itself, you can go to the source code on a GitHub. That's the alternative. So you can use what Egil showed, or you can let me. What is a nice type in C#? Let's take object, because everyone is using object. Site Microsoft.com. So they integrated also a source code, not integrated the source code browser, but where was it? Here you can see, which is also quite nice. You can see here that you have all the stuff, but that's just 2 ways of achieving the same thing. Whatever floats your boat. Coming back to the issue here, this one I opened 2 tabs with the same issue. So there's a lot of setup code, and to be honest, I faced somewhat the same issue in the past. And what I'm a keen fan of, and that's why I wrote this down here, is basically create an humble object around that storage object.
Oh yeah.
And just inject the iLocal storage service into your production code, and either you mock that thing, or what I would prefer, just create a small fake, because implementing those 3 methods, or he even doesn't need 3 methods, he also needs those 2. It's very, very easy to do.
Oh,
Now we
I'm a
don't know.
huge proponent of creating fakes by hand. It's usually very little work, and what you would do is you would basically have for your test fake in this particular case, you would probably just have a public read-only list of T in there, and you would just whenever you like some implementation would literally be the same as you have there as your sample, but instead of calling the local storage type in your fake, you would just either dump dump the T value into the list or pull it out of the list. And then during testing, you can just go to your fake and you have your public property sort of represent your in-memory thing, and you would be able to assert against that. Because that it just makes a test easier to read. But I know many people are big fans of just doing that with mocking libraries like nsubstitute or MOQ. What I do find is that you tend to repeat a lot of setup code in each test for if you're using mocks versus if you're just creating a fake that you reuse. So that would be my suggestion as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Really good point.
Because I mean, look, just the code for the setup is like at least
it's
8-9
so
lines
much
of code.
messier.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
would be a single new up my fake, storage thing, and that would be it. So
Yeah,
and you can even add
exactly.
custom assertion methods on top of that fake, so that you have sort of a business language sitting on top. So
Yeah. And yes, that is basically all. The last one there before is like 19th of March. So yes, I guess we are in the clear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I do think it might be worth it to have a look at that form name bug report we've gotten, because it is a new .NET 8 thing, so other people are likely to run into it. So I don't know, should we fix that now today and then do?
Oh yeah, let's do it today.
Yeah.
I don't think it takes that long.
You want to be the driver, or should I be the driver?
Yeah, let's go. Whatever you prefer. What? Why does my terminal look so weird? What did I do? I don't. Can I? Doesn't matter. So I guess we want to fix this on main on V1 and not only on V2.
No.
Okay, that is a fair assumption. Okay,
I do have a sense that it's a fairly straightforward fix, but let's start by. So you're not sharing. You're just sharing your what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for here? You are sharing your.
I'm only sharing the browser. Yeah. Wait. If I go now here. Yeah, you don't see it. That said, I guess I have to stop and let me share my whole window once again. I always use window, but it should be entire screen, because window is for me like my monitor, and screen is like all of my monitors, which doesn't make sense to share. But okay.
Nope.
Perfect. I know it's a bit small. Let me crank up the zoom to. I guess this should go. Huh? We are not staged. Thank you. We are on main. I pulled the latest version just to be on the clear, as I could pull on main.
So the sample is very simple.
Exactly. We can basically start literally with that, to be honest. We could create this component in the test and, make TDD. Why not?
Well, absolutely. I think we should do that. But I'm wondering, so the thing is, when we do, I'm wondering why this is even a problem, because literally that is what he has in his example. But the add form name, if you're using edit form, that will also spit out that add form name attribute. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's create a a sample component, and the sample components test helper, test assets. That's the word I was looking for there.
Good. Let's do that. Or maybe do we have something? I create stuff form. No, there's nothing. Awesome.
I don't think so.
No. Then let's call it form name components.
To be more precise, it's a component that has that that's a native HTML form with the add form name in it. Remove the sample, doesn't add any value there. Yep. Okay, so I guess create a
Okay.
test where we just try to render that out. Because if I understand the issue correct, actually that is what fails.
So I would put this, where have it, rendering? Render component, no, not really. It is somewhat end-to-end, but probably it's the
Yeah.
HTMLizer.
So originally the end-to-end folder was something like the whole component rendering test file that is in there. That was verbatim copied from Microsoft's repository for their end-to-end test, Blazor's end-to-end test. So I actually never intended us to add anything or change those. Well, besides changing them so they don't use Selenium's API but our API, because they were like a smoke canary. What's it called? In the wine. I realized that I just put you behind the StreamYard logo.
Oh yeah. Quack,
so,
quack.
so you are
Quack, quack.
Doc. Let me let me adjust this layout.
That's good. We're rubber ducking, literally.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah. Wait.
No.
Quack, quack.
I was just experimenting with positions where we were, less in the way. But let's see, what if we stack them on top of each other? Nope,
Yeah. Show me what you got.
No. Ugh, damn it. Vertical line. Well, I can only. How can I move? Oh well, I will deal with that another time. Let's just jump down to the corner instead.
Oh, okay. I'm not the duck anymore. That said,
Oh,
so we that dispatching doesn't make much sense.
I'm certain it's just you can just put it under.
Yeah, that would be the HTML. Did we call it like that? It's not called HTMLizer anymore. Oh yeah, we called it like that. I thought we renamed it.
Hang on, somebody's at the door, of course.
Okay, that gives me opportunity to put my stuff wherever I want, and then yeah, we can move it around somewhere else. What's you complaining here? Okay, doesn't matter. You know what? I will just create a new file, and then we decide later where do we want to go with that. So let's call it a class, user reported error, because it's the only user reported error we ever had and we will ever have. So let's call that test context fact, and we do this display name stuff where we write foo bar, and then we have here public void test. We should probably at some point refactor that into something, yeah, better, because the display name is nice, but it's very verbose. Okay, so we have our component under test, render component. This would be the new form name component I added earlier. And basically we can say, okay, find the form and submit. But we can also check what the user did. He just rendered that stuff. We can do the same. Okay. And then we say, okay, this should not be null. And apparently this is enough to break already the test. Let's hide this for now. I don't know why it went to the background. Good. Let me open up the tests here. It has to compile everything again because recently we worked on V2. They have a lot of changes, so it has to compile everything, including our internal source generators. And for some apparent reason, they take a bit of time on my local machine. It's nothing you have to worry about because, yeah, it doesn't get executed on clients' machines. Okay, so that's that. And now this one is, oh, interesting. It is green. We can check. Oh, he is using the latest and greatest version. That is interesting. Invalid named event. That is very interesting. So I copied everything. So if you go into the form name components, you can see there's a post. It's everything the same. I'm also using XUnit, as is the reporting client. I mean, let's add this. It cannot be this H1. it cannot be my last famous words I'm doing right now before it blows up into my face. Let's see what happens. And this test is green. Yeah, as expected. Why should this H1 do anything? Okay, let me try something. Let me go to foobar and on every conceivable. That's funny. So welcome back. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I heard your conversations with yourself. Yes. Yeah.
That's
I was
awesome.
just helping my kid
So
out. He came home a bit early from school.
interesting. So I
Hang on. Back again.
So that is interesting. So on .NET, on .NET 6 it works, obviously. In .NET 7 it also works. It's only a .NET 8 problem. Because in because in .NET 8, this one is a special treatment, which we did not consider. Okay, and we can see here, somewhere here from the HTMLizer, basically telling, hey, we encountered something, or we are in a state we are not supposed to be in. And probably that is because that thing we did not adapt in .NET 8. So the HTMLizer, I would call it like HTMLizer. That was also a cool name. Anywho, probably there's a mismatch between our version of that thing and the original version in the repository. Let's check. So unfortunately, the
Were you able to reproduce?
Yes, I am on .NET 8. On .NET 6 and 7, obviously it's working. Basically because there's no special. But on .NET 8, we should also update the link. The link is dead because they don't call it HTML render. They call it like that, but it lives somewhere else.
Yeah. So there's a new render tree something type that that is the what's it called, the named event or name something that is new to .NET 8. Yeah, it's under the static renderer.
Root component. That's also not what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So there's multiple files to that. So if you click it again, it'll give you an option to pick one of them. So just click it. You can see there should be
awesome. Yeah. For example, this point where there's a lot of stuff happening. Then you have where's the other partial implementation? I see this
try
partial.
clicking on the that's like a folder view. If you see the three icons on the right side of the screen, like there's one of them where it's next to it, I think. So you just have to find.
Yeah, this one, huh? That was correct. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that it would be the pre-rendering. You want to go into the file. There you go. That one. Yeah.
Interesting. The last time I looked at that thing, it wasn't structured like that.
No.
So that's a while ago. But yeah, as you can see, SSR render mode boundary. So there's .NET 9 stuff and .NET 8 stuff probably also in here.
Yeah, the streaming rendering, all of that. So you can probably look for the named, if you search for named event.
Method field, is it? No. Yeah, that sounds.
So that's a new one.
Render frame type. That's
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. How can I? But I cannot.
No, that's not really it. Yeah, no. but it's probably not actually, because named event would be the click handler. So I don't think that's causing the issue necessarily. Well, it might be indirectly. So it might be because it's a form. So sorry, can you go back and show me what are the exceptions you're getting?
So invalid element frame type named event, and this comes from.
Okay.
I should go a bit back.
So I am fairly certain that we can just add it in there and have it as an option. And I think it should just where you wanna do an if def .NET 8. Otherwise, it's not.
Yeah, I will do it in a second.
Yeah,
but it's just like it's easier that way. But yeah, if
Yeah. But if
always do
in
this,
the
I don't. That's totally C++.
yeah.
But sorry, pardon me.
.NET or Grader, yeah. So I think what you can do is you can search for case, then that thing there, and just see in the file we were just in if there's anything we want to do specifically. So if you go back to the file you were in,
Isn't that this? No. You mean this one? Oh, this is the render tree div builder. That should be. Wait.
no, that's not. The
Yeah,
one
that
we
looks. Are you? Append.
just hit the
No, you're
back
right.
button a bunch of times so you get back to where you were. There you go.
Yeah, there's no occurrence in here.
Oh yeah, I think it's fine for us because.
So, named event.
So it's more of a type that is being used to, set up the static renderer to be able to detect, it's a new. Actually, if you look at the render tree, the update display async, it retrieves a render batch, and there's a new collection in there that is called named events. Unfortunately, it's only it only includes unsubmit events. So it's not really doesn't well for my side quest with HTMX and all of that. I could have used it if it also include other types of events, but it only includes unsubmit for now. So if you look at the render batch type.
No, console render task. Yeah.
You would see if you're on .NET 8 or later, you would see there's a named events collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, name event changes. And those represent, form submit types that have been added or removed. But since bUnit, the renderer there behaves more like the regular, more like Blazor WebAssembly actually, in a sense that it's all in memory, then we don't really have a need for that as far as I know. So I actually looked into that quite a bit the last 2 days for the other project where I'm hacking around in the renderer, and I don't think we need to do anything more than what you already did with HTML and just say, hey, yeah, there's a new element in the render tree. We don't care about that, so we just move on. We may need to increment the position like we do with component.
Yeah.
Reference we captures. Also don't care about those. Yeah, we don't care about those either. So, but let's see if it renders out. So what happens in the real render is that it will output a hidden field, a hidden input field, or not hidden input field, a hidden element, like the input hidden element with the name of the form name in there.
Yeah.
So
now it's green.
Yeah, so I would be curious. Can you do just do a cut markup matches on that just to see what we actually get out? Just an empty string, just for no markup matches, and then exactly. So we get a just so we can
get the markup in the console.
We actually see what the markup is by running the test like that.
Well, I should run it for .NET 8 at least. Yeah, it's just gone. But that is expected, or if you just say position +1 and ignore that would be my expectation.
So if you run it for .NET 6, right? If you go back, look at the invocation you did there, you can see it actually includes the add form name. So I wonder, should we do that in .NET 8 as well? .NET 8 actively sort of
I probably would
no, hang on.
not.
Yeah, no, I think no, actually .NET 8 understands that on a lower level, so it will not include that at all. It's not there, right? So, yeah.
I think this is correct
I am-
because
The thing is, if users have running .NET 6 right now, and they upgrade to .NET 8, well then, hang on. Form name, when was that introduced? Was it a .NET 6 or .NET 8 thing?
it's
When did form
.NET
name
8
become
thing.
yeah, okay. Well, so users are not gonna have in the .NET 6 or .NET 7 solutions, they're not gonna have add form name on their form elements. It's something that's been added in .NET 8. It's a new directive that was included in the .NET 8 release. So in that case, no, I think it's right just to say, hey, ignore that, move on.
Well, it would happen somewhat like that also in their production code. If they, for some apparent reason, had add form name, it would behave differently between .NET 6
So
and
I
.NET
think
8
my
for them.
concern was more that users would, be on .NET 6, and then they would upgrade to .NET 8, and we don't want the tests they have already written to break because all of a sudden, the output is different. On that level.
Yeah. But
I think
for me,
yeah.
it is expected different. Like it has to be different. Okay, but that's.
But I think in this particular instance, it wouldn't actually be different because it is like they wouldn't have the add form name in there. So now the question is, do we want to do anything in particular here, into assertion wise? Is this a test that should we even keep this test around?
That's a good question because we are basically asserting on non-existence.
I think actually, so that's a point. Definitely, we need HTMLizer should be able to handle a named event. A named event currently the only named event type. So this is not about form name. If you remove the form name, I don't think it's gonna change. Like it'll. I don't think form name is the key. I might be wrong. If you go to the form name component, remove the form name there, I think it's and undo the fix you did, or put a breakpoint in the HTMLizer and look for the and see if you hit.
Wait. So I removed that now.
Yeah.
And if you go to the HTMLizer and put this out again, yeah. So I do not compile that code. I do not compile that code. Obviously, this will be green. Why should this not be passing? There's no named event now.
But I'm not sure if the named event is the key. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure if form name was the key to creating a named event, but I might be wrong.
Sorry, the source generators are kicking in. That takes a bit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's go web tests. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Speed. Yeah, it's green.
Okay. So it is the fact that, but yeah, so name the test something related to, named events. But form name is the thing that
was it form with a dash or without a dash? I should have not do that.
No, it's with just straight up
without a dash.
HTMLizer ignores. Maybe name the test ignores named events.
Isn't that a pretty hard implementation detail? But yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, it's more about when we look at it later on, because that's the fix we did. But I guess this test don't we have an HTMLizer tests type or a class?
No, we have.
Did you not?
Now I have a user reported error class.
Yeah, well, I'm not a fan of that name.
Wait, if this is the only ever reported user error we have, I feel like this is a good name. No, I'm just
Sure.
kidding.
Okay.
Sure,
That might actually be a flex. Yeah. We've had one error.
Uh, let me just move this a bit down. Yes, we can just do that. That might be so easy if we just. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You are right. Let's put this here. We have this. Fact. Why am I writing this?
I don't know, Steven. I don't know.
Okay.
You like to waste your keystrokes. Have you heard that
Yeah.
thing from Scott Hanselman? He said that you think about it from that perspective. As a person, you only have you have a limited amount of keystrokes in your life.
That's true, but there's no. Yeah. Well, but it's not like there's a predefined upper limit at your birth, and then it just counts down. I would argue it's not
Yeah.
like that.
Sure. No.
It's
that's
green, and it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Called
I would
block.
probably if def that behind .NET 8 only, and I would do a markup matches on that because we want to see that it actually outputs, not the rendered
Wait.
the form. Yeah. So basically,
Wait, why is it
copy paste
rendering?
that.
Wait. Why is it rendering? What? Oh wait, it's just executed, not .NET 8. Okay, wait. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Need
so
to see
confused.
fail.
How did it? I'm not confused. Why was it green? There's no apparent reason it should be
Can you
green.
do me a favor and remove the white line, the MTU line on 126? Thank you.
Yeah, done. Okay.
Yes, OCD and all of that. Go
That's
back to the
absolutely
test.
fair.
Wrap that in if def.
Ah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
equally fair.
Because then we can do markup
Also,
matches.
always,
Because that.
I'm mad that they didn't take if def.
Oh yeah. Why do I keep saying if def? I don't know.
Because it's a C++ or C way of doing things.
Probably, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's a yeah. So and then you wanna add, instead of should not be empty, just do markup matches on the
Okay.
expected output, because then we I guess we covered our bases, right? In terms of that it's ignoring it, it's able to render, but it's also doing the right thing.
This is a
So
CS
do the
file,
triple
so
quotes. Yeah, do the raw literal thing.
stop doing that. Okay, so we have the form.
Just
I know I
copy-paste
could
it.
have. Yeah, that's smart. Well, that train left the station a long time
No,
ago.
I mean go to the component. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Ah. Yeah. Okay. I thought you mean what's it called?
Yeah.
The from the test out.
Copy from the test. Yeah.
Which would have been also something, but can you please not do that?
It's super. No, wow, that's so. In Visual Studio, they don't recognize the HTML, right? Because we have. So for folks watching at home, we have. Hey, Christopher. By the way, he jumped in and said, "I think his point is that you should not waste time on haters." I've already forgotten what we talked about. Sorry, Christopher. But yes, don't waste time on haters. If you look at, can you navigate to markup matches? I want to show off that small trick we have. Just go to the definition. So you can see we have that string syntax HTML. And Writer actually understands that we mean to use an HTML highlighter. Visual Studio does not. Visual Studio understands JSON and a few others that are sort of built into string syntax. But Writer also picks up on HTML5, and that's super nice. And it makes it so much easier to play around with.
For example, also Writer understands that if you have here, there's other project of mine where I have this one here as a regex, and Writer understands for some apparent reason quantifier. So if you do useless cron expressions, or also Writer understands that, which I really like that they do this. But
if you go back to markup matches, basically click on that before, and then go to definition of string syntax, that attribute. Yeah, go into that. You will see once it's done decompiling.
Let's go there. Let me minimize that here.
I think scroll up or down somewhere.
Yeah, it's up.
Yeah,
it's always up.
Here you have the built-in types that Visual Studio understands, and you can see HTML is for some reason or another missing from that list. But you have the sort of built-in const that you can just reference instead of using typing string. But it's super nice that writer can just say, well, hey, it says HTML. They probably mean HTML. So that does make markup matches directly in C# files super useful.
Yeah. A human. Wait. Oh yeah. An extension of VS that adds that nice humanizer tooltip as well for cron expressions. That is nice. Because oftentimes I'm also struggling. I recently found out you can have
I
up
always
till
have to
seven
Google cron expressions.
up till 7 digits of cron expressions. I thought like if you do second precision, you have 6, but there's also some way you can do a 7 digits something. It is so weird. But yeah, where were we? Oh, yeah, we were.
I think we were doing, let's get that merged.
Line starts
what are
with
we
no,
complaining
it
about
does
there?
not. Stop it. And then he does. Yeah, well, that's almost. No, that's not better. That's even
That's not
wrong.
better.
Like, it doesn't. It
It
was
can't
tabs.
it can't go past. Yeah,
No, the
it can't
problem
go
is
past
here. No, the issue was I had white space, like spaces, but here are
inconsistent.
tabs, and I do not understand this because our editor config tells us we have spaces.
No, our editor config actually says we have tabs because we want to be friendly to our. So
Yeah, okay.
Is it a sore topic?
Yeah, let's get into greater detail over an hour just about tabs over spaces or spaces over tabs.
Yeah. Well, so
anyhow,
the argument. Let me just share that the argument that won me over, because I was always just a spaces guy. I don't know, it makes sense to me. But speaking of Scott Hanselman, I think he actually was the one who brought it up. The problem is that if you are, if you can't see well, you might say, well, I'm going to use a super large font. So if you have a rule in your code base that you have to have 4 spaces per tab, right, which is quite normal. If you use super large fonts, then, at 16 or 20, 22 or 24, whatever, spaces in you will have a lot of white space scrolling back and forth. If instead you say, well, we're going to store tabs in our code, and then we will have our editor treat them either as 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, or whatever, how many spaces you want. Well, that makes it accessible to people who have a bad sight, and they can go in and say, well, on my editor, I'm going to say 1 space because my spaces are, 100 pixels wide because I use super large letters. That's going to be equivalent to 1 space. So that actually makes the code accessible to them. So, and with that in mind, and with the fact that editors will generally just be able to do this correct, then that's why I said, well, okay, let's just use tabs, even though I was a spaces guy before. So
interesting.
I
do not know why this. I mean, no, I don't follow the argumentation, but it might be right.
Yeah, no, I think it's solid enough. I didn't invent it, but you can try setting your font size 200, for example, and imagine you're short, you have a very bad eyesight, and
it's
then
53 now.
And then you can go in and configure in your editor what a tab should be. So if you change a tab to be, you can specify how many pixels is a tab. So if you have a very large font size, you can change so that the indentation doesn't, go all the way to the right. So that way you can have.
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah. Okay, because my argumentation always in favor of spaces over tabs is that no matter where you print this stuff out, be it an IDE, be it a web browser, it looks the same. Because oftentimes, if you especially in earlier times, browsers had this, or GitHub, for example, always says, okay, if you have tabs, it's 4 spaces. Even though many folks don't use 4 as their default. Though originally 1 tab would mean 8 spaces. This is how typewriters started that thing.
And it's actually and that sucked a lot, especially in GitHub in the old days, because when I actually started using tabs for bUnit, the default was 8, and that mean that was like super long, like three tabs. That was 24 spaces, columns, and that just made it super hard to read code. But luckily,
Yes.
they've understand that now you can go in and set it up in your own personal settings. On GitHub, how many spaces you want for a tab, and you can do that in your editor as well. So it can be, so it actually means that you give the individual user the flexibility, the accessibility to do what they would like to be like. So you signal that one tab, and that's also one of the reasons why people hate on YAML, because YAML is there's Tamil instead, which is better because that's tab limited instead of space limited, and then you can choose to have your tabs in your YAML files be wider, right? Or shorter, whatever you feel like.
Yeah, there's also something Christopher said that you can just indicate special characters, and then you have like these small symbols here to the left, just to know whether or not, exactly, whether or not you have tabs or spaces, or there's the or there's only those two you can use. Or
Anyway. Let's get that
back to our Python code.
Yes, exactly.
No, wait,
push it to.
We're not done.
Oh no, of course you're right. Oh, we actually have unreleased stuff hanging around. Oh, neat.
I didn't know that. Oh yeah, we should probably make a fix. Yeah, let's get that merged. Let me.
Yeah, actually, let's just do a release. Merge that and release it. Release it.
Yeah, right.
What can go wrong? It's brain. Friday. Always release on Fridays, right?
Yeah. So fix no.
So actually, I think the old saying of "don't release on Fridays" is because you usually go on, you go on a weekend. But in open source, the work week starts on a Friday in open source because you work through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then you go on. So releasing on Fridays for open source is actually the right thing to do.
Oh wait. Iteration when used on a form element. Well, it's could be better.
You probably want to do put it in the backticks, the add form name, because otherwise it's gonna tag somebody.
That's always interesting. I did this a lot with whoever is watching it, and your GitHub handle is @bind. I'm very sorry. I tag you a lot, but yeah, I mean, well. Can I just copy paste that here? I'm just super lazy. Reported by. I mean the traditions, Oh, we did this always this way. Reported by, and then
good to give people a shout out who help out by reporting, and put yourself in the fixed list, just so
I'm just sharing my screen.
When the MVP nominations run around, they can go and look at the changelog and see you actually did something.
Do you think they do that? That would be super interesting.
Sorry, I'm not sure actually how much they look, but they certainly look at like contributing to open source does make a difference for for MVP status and so yeah. So that's more or less. Besides going to conferences and speaking, that's my main effort.
So that's it. Is GitHub Copilot good enough? No.
Come on.
That's I thought that's pattern matching. It should be super straightforward, but I give that thing too much credit. Oh no, awesome. Okay, wait.
So maybe do a line break somewhere.
Oh yeah, add code. That's true. If you have to raise it.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. Also on Twitter. I don't know. You're much more on LinkedIn, Stephen. Is it the same on LinkedIn where you use the add to tag somebody?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
What did I wait? I did a new line break like that.
Yeah, you just want to do a few spaces. Sorry.
It doesn't matter.
Son is back.
No, that's right. So the thing is, I know that sometimes you go through the code and fix this, but the release action just reformats that whole document anyway. So if you're still listening, you don't have to do this necessarily because that thing does that for us. That's why we have it. But yeah, I also picked this up. I do like mentioning people that contribute in any way. The unfortunate part is if you look into the contributors tab on your repository, and it's quote unquote, unfortunately, you only see people who contributed code instead of any kind of help. But sometimes discussions, issues, can help a lot driving your software forward, and it's a kind of a small token of appreciation. Yeah, unfortunately, they don't show up. But yeah. Oh, what is here? What did I do? 2 times. Okay. That said, we should be ready as always. Fix HTMLizer can handle named events, and then here fixes number, and I wrote it and cannot even remember the number. It is one. What did I do with all the tilts? Why do I put so many tilt signs here? Okay, that looks good. For our principal, you are back, so PR looks good.
Yeah.
Huh? Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So just merge to main.
Yeah. As always, there's. No, I'm just
But
kidding.
no,
Okay,
I think Christopher, for me, it's more about I know it's when people actually take the time to report an issue or help out, and I don't know how Suzu something 2469. He actually also took the time to
Nice.
include a repro of the issue, so that just makes it easier for everybody, right? So yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that would be malicious. That would just be an instant ban for me. If we get a PR where somebody does that, they just go on the ban list, because that is yeah.
Well, I want to ask,
the minimum
how bold was it? Was the whole pull request just adding himself as a maintainer, or was there at least some kind of fix involved?
We've had pull requests coming in where somebody would just fix a single, comma or like a spelling mistake, grammar mistake, and sure, if it's actually valid. But especially during what was an open source thing is it Oktoberfest, Hacktoberfest? There, I think we've been fairly, we've been avoided most of that, but I've heard other open source projects where they just get spammed by ridiculously, silly stuff.
So that's close. That is awesome.
That work. Yeah, that's a classic thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I try to be polite, but I have no quarrels about closing an issue or dismissing a pull request if it's just like people should open an issue first, discuss it, see whether it's actually doing the thing we wanted to do.
So our rebase is working.
I
love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, I would check out V2 and we can. I would do so. What we are doing right now, just a small heads up. So, somewhere in the next few minutes to hours, we will release the 1.28.
Let's just kick it off.
Now the
right?
current. Now, okay.
I'm just going to start the prepare release.
Okay, yeah. If you do it in the background, that would be awesome because
Yeah.
that means I can go to our V2 branch, which should be now rebased. Let me pull. Wait, that cannot be true. Wait, what? Wait, that is odd. So we have, just for folks, just to know, so we have a V2 branch, which should be always on top of main because, you want to have all the changes from main and just put some stuff on top. But I saw that the action triggered. So your action you wrote, which basically rebases V2 on the current main, but it didn't work.
It's
Why?
so there's a very good chance I made a mistake. I think it's
Yeah, then let's do this manually. That's no issue.
well. Let's have a look. I'm just gonna look at the output. So create rebase. It's created a pull request, so it's waiting for us to merge it in. So that's why it hadn't done it.
It has conflicts.
Yes.
Yeah, but let's do it anyway.
That's the whole setup that I set up. So yeah, you can
Yeah, okay, that's
basically.
fair. I will
so
rebase it
to
because we have
best-
to fix it anyway.
Yeah, and the idea with creating a pull request is to say, hey, there's something here you don't want to get too far behind, right? So it's a motivating thing for us to continue to rebase v2 on main, so we don't lose track of all the good thoughts we had when we were doing that. So
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, why not? Incoming change, that looks fine.
Yeah, we want to keep.
Yeah, I know
V2
it's rather small right now. I apologize. I just want to rebase very quickly. And I'm not sure
Yeah,
even why I'm
that's
doing
fine,
this
that's fine.
because I can do this literally in my editor until the next one pops up. I expect somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Finally. Here the good thing is if I zoom in a bit, I know I'm so good. I should use directly Vim. I feel I should go to Vim. So we have here some merge tests. Oh god, I screwed up the big time. So it's easier if I just take this test, accept
We
the
need
current
both.
version. This is basically what we wrote 5 seconds ago, and put this down under here, and remove the if def because v2 will be only .NET 8 and greater, so there's no use for that. Awesome. Then this is resolved. This is perfect. I thought I clicked the button number, sorry. And then let's continue, and this should be it. Awesome. Okay. Sanity check. I will run all the tests. Just one sanity check before I make a push force, because push force. Well, I know that you have the current V2.
Have a good time, Christopher.
Cheers.
And cheers. Yeah.
Have one for us. I guess you should also get a water. You see, there we go.
Yeah.
Obviously, I obviously. So in version 2, there is no render component anymore. Everything is called render. So
the thing is, do you want to redo the rebase so that it gets amended to the right?
Yeah. That is a good idea. And now the problem is which rollback cannot be. Okay, let's do the rebase again.
Yes, reset that hard.
So. Awesome. Now back to the same mistakes. Let's see if Stephen is capable of learning. Accept the incoming change. Awesome. Continue. And now, yes, thank you very much. And that we see that I wanted to keep that. Let's keep that. Take the current change, remove this, and remove that bit in here. And just add that test. And oops, perfect. Okay. I will stage that, but I will not commit that because I want to know if everything runs, and then I will commit. That is the smarter way to do, but
actually, that's a really good point. Like between each, before you say rebase continue, make sure that commit that you have decided that you've done merging, run the test between. So
yeah.
Well, so honestly, that might be an issue with that commit in general, and that's nothing to do with what you changed. So I think we have to just continue.
Wait, but this is the yeah.
No, it's not the last one. There were more commits afterwards. So I think it's likely that everything will work now. Yeah, but that's a really good point, and that's something we should have been doing, like making sure that each commit on the wave works. But I think that's
every rebase step.
That is something for the next time we do something like this for V3. That's for the V3 problem.
Which will be released soon. Ooh.
Yeah, in 5
Okay,
years.
everything everything is green, which
Yeah.
means we can do git push. So in general, I would, if you ever have to push force, always. I know I didn't do this the last time, but please, please, please use git push force with least. That's much safer because
Okay.
if Ege would in the meantime push something on V2, I would just remove his stuff without any doubt. So
Another phone
force with
call,
least would,
unfortunately. I'm very popular
yeah,
today.
take it.
Hang on, Stephen.
That's nice, understandable. Exactly. So if you have to push something or force push something because rebase, you change the history, always or 99.9% of cases use the force release because that will check on the remote whether or not there are new commits. If there are new commits, it will abort. Otherwise, you just really overwrite everything, and your teammates may or may not be very unhappy with your decision of doing so. Okay. Now he's gone. I am not allowed to push with force. That is very, very annoying. But what happens if I do this? Because I'm pretty certain that, let me just check something. If I just check here and one line, what is the last commit I have? That is the merge render component. And here we have on V2, go as long as the, yeah, I'm not sure if let's do it without leads because this is literally what I want this time. No, yeah, I don't have the, I do not have the permission. Let's wait a minute until he comes back. But in the meantime, what we want to do is we want to add the, how's it called? Component render state. So we in the last session, we introduced, or the last two sessions, rendered component, we introduced the interface rendered component CS. I rendered component in favor of having rendered component and rendered fragment. So this is the only public type. What's that? I want to know. Typo. Yeah, no, that's on purpose. Exactly. So we only have the I rendered component as public facing type for you, and dropped basically the rendered component and rendered fragment. There was in 99.5% of cases, yeah, you would not distinguish between those two types. There's barely use of having rendered fragment around. We could do the same with the I rendered component. And now what we want to do is basically add the rendered component render state, so we can save some code. Oh, you're back. Hello.
Oh, sorry. Hang on.
No.
It's a thing.
Awesome. Exactly. So .NET has the component render state. Render state. I should also include, yeah, rendered component state. Rendered component state. No, I don't even know how this type is called. It cannot be. Why do I not find this type? Private read only component state. But this just component state. I'm sorry. I don't know why I called it rendered component state. Probably because we call it rendered. There's no apparent reason we should have that. Okay. And the idea for today's session is to have component state as our base class because, well, more or less that's what that is anyway.
It is, yes.
So one thing I know I cannot push force, unfortunately. Maybe you can check if I do have the permission. I can
I'm fairly
push
certain you
direct.
had the permission.
I think so too, but
You were certainly added to all
wait,
the
this
things.
branch must not contain merge commits. I'm pretty certain I do not have merge commits. Let me check. How many commits do we have? We have 31 commits. 37. I have 38. So if I just check if any of this refactor, there's no merge inside.
I'll just remove that. Require linear history. it's a nice to have. Doesn't it matter at all? I think so.
I mean, it is nice.
let me just-
My point is wait. La, la, la. You merge the pull request probably. Let me rebase once more from main. I think in the meantime, because you merged that PR, what happens if I do this? Well, I have open changes. Fair enough. Oh no, it is the current version.
Yeah, I have rollback though. So
Let's go. Oh, then what should go wrong? Hit push force, and there we go. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's no merge commit inside.
Nope, that's good. That's what we want.
Merge.
And we can
Able to merge.
And
yeah, fixes after merge. Okay, but no. Okay. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Let's ignore that for now. Good. Component state. Basically, this is what we want to do. That's the target picture. And I do remember we tried it the last time, and then we agreed to roll it back because it would be too many changes at once. That was the basic outcome of last week's session, and we just wanted to finish the whole I-rendered component thing. Yes.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm just blanking now here. We have that release a minor version PR. Should we be? I'm trying to remember. Should we be using rebase to rebase into stable, or should we do a merge commit?
No,
for
merge,
that?
merge.
Create a merge.
The thing
commit,
is, I mean, in theory we could use, but the problem is there are already some merge commits, and I mean it should work,
I think
but
it's fine.
it's easier
It also
for now.
It also signals that this is a release. So there
Yeah.
should be a release coming out at 1.28 now being released.
Nice.
Anyway, sorry. Yes.
What we could do at one point to fix that is we basically reset after what you do right now after a release. We could literally reset hard on the current main branch, and then we can from there on onwards we could rebase without any issue. Maybe we should do this at some point. Okay. Component state. Let's go. We have component ID. It doesn't exist anymore because it's already on the base class.
It does exist. So I think
it does exist. But obviously it is part of the base class. With that, yeah, exactly. I thought I stashed it. Probably I did not, huh? So also last week we basically tried to. Oh no, that is already what we did, huh? Component ID we do not need.
So you want to call the base class. So component state has a base that we need to call.
Yeah,
pass
exactly.
in some. It
and
has
that
some
needs basically. No, we don't have the renderer right now, huh? Yeah, that's something we need. We need the renderer.
Yeah, so we need to update the whole. I think where we instantiate that. So.
Renderer.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the renderer. We have the component ID. We have what do we want next? Do you want to have the component in question? So the instance behind that.
The instance, yeah.
And
what the parent component state.
And the parent component state for the sake of we could just ask for that, huh? Parent as a component state, parent component state, and just give it. Okay, probably this one we still need because we have to overwrite. So there's a small of a discrepancy between component state and our rendered component because component state basically only knows this one. So not
yes
comment.
Well, that's
it only knows
component. It's called component the property. So our property instance property can just
it can still be there.
Yeah,
because at the end we just exposing the interface. So
exactly.
For us, it's this is a convenient API for us internally.
Yeah.
Good. I do think we do. Wait, we do not need this. Well, then. I would have needed this one. Only this one. I need basically the. I wouldn't have
Well,
needed
so
the
there's also
upper one.
things that we can change the order of things, I believe now, because now we will be instantiating our rendered component types in the renderer. So there is in our bUnit renderer, we need to override a method called create component state, which is a method that the renderer, base renderer, will call whenever it needs a new component state, and there we will just new up, the rendered component and pass it that because it's now a component state. So there we go.
Yeah, that looks.
So it will pass in all the things that we would want. Now, here.
But what we want to really create a rendered component.
Yes.
Not only the component state.
Now, the challenge here is we do
Find
not know
the instance type.
Yep.
Because otherwise it would be just that it would be this component ID component. Then we are asking for what? No, we're asking for the service container.
And that's available on the renderer, so you can just pass in services.
Is it just services? Oh yeah. And the parent component state, yeah. And the question is now, what is here? What is our T component? The component.
Yes. And you can type I component there, and that wouldn't be wrong.
It should be fine, to be honest. But
the problem is if we at some point want to cast that to be the T component, then
that should work as well.
Should it? Yeah.
Yes, because the instance type itself is still of the user's component and not I component. Yes, that would work.
Okay, let's see. Well, I don't know, but let's see.
Okay.
Now, there's other things. So, sorry, hang on. My daughter's home. She had a small accident, so I'll have to be AFK in 5 minutes, and I'll be back. Okay?
Good. I also think if we want to have one of the constructors, we probably do not need both. We only need the lower one. This one we do not need. So we will just merge that whole thing for now. So let me put this here. We will keep this for now, but I'm pretty certain we don't need it. So let's get the renderer in. Where is this used, by the way? Yeah, I see that that's only used there. There's no apparent reason to keep it up, and this has no use. So there was anyway only one occurrence where we created a whole thing. And probably if you create the rendered component, you already know that it's rendered. So there should be one by default. Oh god. And you want to update everything. So do we have the rendered tree frame dictionary? That is now the interesting question. So let me exactly, if we go back to this one usage, then what we don't have is the rendered tree. Do we have it? We have the components. Service provider, disposal tasks. Well, we have task completion. Yeah, that might be a tricky one. If I check out the old version, this one, exactly here we are inside, and the frames collection is passed in basically from find components. But maybe we keep both, but I'm almost certain that we want to have render count also here set to some value not equal to 0. But let's do it in a second. bUnit render, let's go. Render. Obviously you want to get that. That is fine. And we need the component state parent. Component state. Now that's a bit ugly. Let's put them on separate lines. a bit more readable. There's a lot of parameters for a constructor. But let's make it work, and then we do it a bit better, because otherwise you are refactoring a solution which might not even work in the first place. And you want to have the parent components. Okay, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Then let's go back. That's the renderer. Yeah, this one here. Exactly. In a second, we have the bUnit root component. Yeah, well, that is still this. Then the component ID. Then what is root? Exactly. This is the I component service, and because it's the root component, that thing is null. There is nothing above the bUnit root component. So we might have multiple fragment containers and whatnot. There are other types, but the bUnit root component, as the name may suggest, is literally the root. So there cannot be a parent component around. Okay, so here is still missing the parent component. There would be one, and this is from the frames collection component ID. In theory, if we have the frames collection, now it's a question we have to find. Let's put it null in. It is this. But what we want is to do find the parent of this component frames collection, which we can do from the render tree frame dictionary. So we can find this out. That shouldn't be a big problem. Okay, that should make it even compilable. If I'm not wrong, I'm not sure. There are certain things that we can clean up, but it should be compilable. And there's one to do we have to do, but that one by one.
So sorry, Stephen.
Don't
My
worry.
wife's out of town, so when both kids have unexpected problems this afternoon, then I have to deal with that.
Okay, so it is compilable again. It is also green. That is good. The only thing we have to do right now is, so what I did, just I'm not sure if you had your little thingy in or not.
No, I was out of the room somewhere else.
Okay, so basically, I wanted to also do it here. It's a bit of a mess right now that we have a lot of parameters, but for now it's fine. We will change that. So there are a few usages of those things. So we have the obviously this. No, I don't want to show this. We have here, for example, create component state. This is also obvious. And here in the render method, obviously we have a root component, and the root component does not have a parent. That's why we call it root component. And yes, so the only thing where we have to do something is in get or create rendered component. This is basically also called from find component, if I'm not wrong. Yes, exactly. We have to find the parent component. Well, we don't have to do this necessarily now, but if we want to implement the feature that you can walk up the render tree, we would have to do this at some point. For now, it's null, and that's why you see also all tests passing, because there's no tests indicating that, hey, you can walk up the components, the render tree, because until now it doesn't exist. But yeah, so in theory,
so
we could make
is
a
still
commit.
passing.
Exactly. So in theory, we could.
Okay. Let's say get a create rendered component, but I guess get a create rendered component, that's a method we have already. So instead of doing up a new render component there, we should go instead and use the method. There's a built-in method in the renderer called find get component state, and that will return our component state to us based on component ID.
Yeah.
And then we just need to, instead of instantiating a new render component, we just return that one. Now, the trick here is we need to cast the, T component. And that's the cast I'm afraid we might not be able to do. So
did you hear of the namespace system.reflection?
Yes. So if we go back to the method where we call create component, right, where we actually instantiate the component, there we can use activator to instantiate the component. So if we instantiate it with the right generic type, then we can do the cast.
Well,
So
we can
that would
do
be
the
in
cast
the
also.
renderer.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Wait, why is this never used? Well, maybe we can. Oh yeah, we should merge these two. That's also what I wanted to. But you were not there. But what I also I'm missing it to do. This one has to be also in here. Component frames we don't have, but we have to merge those two. So obviously, because once this component is created, it is already rendered at least once. So this stuff has to move up there.
Update markup. Yes. So there's a whole bunch of the ordering and of things, and the whole.
Yeah.
We had a whole bunch of. I had some logic that I added back then before I really understood what was going on. I understood something, but not all of it. And the whole creating a dictionary that captures all the rendered frames and does the things with that. That was sort of because we thought we had race conditions, but that was because of other things. So all of that should we should be able to basically update all the things we need to update. Just from update display. Yeah.
So here the question is, how do we get the component? I mean, well, that's not tricky, because the component would be component get type. Then we have the component. That's simple as that. Yeah, that's, you get the idea. I will refactor this, but just that we know what we're doing.
Yes.
Okay, here, argument null exception. Oh, argument null exception. Can you please make the, here. So if null component, Then once we have this, we can create the generic type behind rendered component. So rendered component type would be type of rendered component, make generic type, and there we take the T component, and then we have at least the type information. Now we still need to create the instance, and the instance we can basically do with. Wait, was this correct?
It suggested it. Yes, it was.
Wait, this is even correct?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. It is one of the first times where I'm seeing this is so yeah, this one obviously we have to cast as the component state.
No. Just delete that line and write a return on line. Just return a rendered component.
This is of type object, so we still need.
No, you need to cast.
No, it is type
but
object.
You can just cast it to component state.
Yeah, exactly.
To component state. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's also fine. Yeah, I wanted to do that. So here, let's go, and there go. No. Yeah, well, we can for sure. That is maybe a good thing for us. If rendered component is null, we really want to have an exception. Maybe debug assert. We can also do that for the time being. What's your take?
Sorry, I just got a message.
Rendered component is null. Sorry, not null. Obvious.
There are some code in. Yes, that assertion is that it's not null. Yes, I think it's completely fine to do an assertion in that case, because
the question is, do we want to have it debug assert? Because I think for us it's fine. We do not have to ship that.
Debug assert should because it's also signaling that this is the case. Now, there is a performance issue here in the make generic component, but there is actually in the .NET or Blazor code, there is generic helpers that will actually, there's reflection helpers that basically will, where there is a static cache of the component type. Because every time we want to create a new component, we basically want to cache that, right?
Yeah, we can also wait. What did it?
Yeah, we want to
what's the
cache
problem?
the rather we want to cache the generic not the generic the make generic type the result of that.
Yeah, let's do this
I'm
in a
trying
second.
to
Let's make
remember.
it compilable,
Yeah.
and we make it just a
Make it run,
super
then make it right,
straightforward.
or make it fast.
Exactly, we can make a concurrent dictionary holding this information. That should be no problem.
Actually, Microsoft has something. That was my point. They have already done, built a helper library for this that is part of the ASP.NET Core framework. So we, instead of doing our own concurrent dictionary, we can just leverage what they have already.
If they, what's the dealio? It's not assignable to iRendered component. Easy. Then that's even more straight. Yeah, we had this.
No. You want to
Yeah,
cast
this
to
for the
T
dictionary.
component.
No, we have to do it twice. The problem is the dictionary. We did this the last time to avoid. If I go here, we have here the iRendered component, and obviously this
You can just do
handle
component
the
state
generic.
there. Just component state. But you can also scroll up. If you scroll up, do we even need to store the rendered component anymore? So, because they are already stored in the base renderer, right?
That's true. Do we have access?
Yes, we can call get component state, right? So
yeah, but we want to have but we do not have every we don't need every component. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, let's drop it like it's hot. Your errors. Okay, yes. So because we go through every component, and here now is the question: how do we go to every component in the render tree?
So
I mean, we can keep it. No. We have the component IDs. Don't we have them around?
Yeah, the component IDs are part. So the component IDs are part of the rendered event, the render batch, and we use that to call get component state on the base render. That will return us the rendered component, which we can then do the things we want to do with. So yeah, but there's a whole bunch of updates we need to do to that update code, because we don't really need to do it in the same way that we're doing it there, honestly. So if you I guess, look, so small steps, Stephen. Let's do one change at a time. Let's just get the find component thing working and ignore the rendered component and just store component state in there. That's fine for this particular case.
What's the dealio here? Dispose.
Oh, it's because it doesn't have dispose. It actually does have dispose. Component state does have a dispose. I think it's dispose async, or is it private?
It is dispose async. What does it do? Why is it dispose async?
No. So when is that called? That where you were in a method just now where you were
in our dispose.
Yeah. So you don't need to do that, because the base render will do that for us. It will dispose of our component. It will dispose of its component states. So we don't.
Well, the problem is no. We did this for a reason, didn't we? Wasn't it this whole timing issue about that the components have? Well, yeah, maybe not.
No. I don't think
I can't
so,
remember.
because what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because yeah. Because the issue was that we didn't expect. We had a race condition between a component being disposed and us receiving rendered updates to it. So we try to go and update the component after it's been disposed, like update it based on rendered elements. It would be disposing while we were doing that. So that's not really an issue, right? Because we have checks in place where we. So I think that's not a problem in this particular case.
Okay. Good. Then this one is yeah, but here we need literally the cast. So this is find T component.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we chose to use in interface, because it is and get a create render component. Well, you it's never a it's always a get. It's never a create anymore at that stage.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
yeah, this frame component is T component.
yeah, that's because we are so find component in render tree will search down through the render tree and see, like, that is basically the
Do we need here the iRendered component as a return type?
I think so.
Because we do not do anything with that component here, as you can see. There's only one usage. It doesn't. I mean,
yes,
results.
yeah, it's because that is the method, like the find components method, that when users say, I want to walk down the component tree, I want to find a component, so that they're asking for all the types of all the instances of G component, right? So you are doing something with it. You are adding it to the result type, and that result type is getting returned back to you.
Find component, but this one. Yeah, wait. Here, the result itself, I'm with you. That will be a strongly typed. My question is, does get a rendered component really has to be iRendered component? Or if I do make a component state, this
well,
one
then you can
obviously
just
will not work, yeah.
then you can just call the base type get component state.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to make it like not. That's true, but we do some stuff here. We can refactor this later.
No, so you don't need to do all the load. I don't think. Yeah, so I am trying to follow along with where you are in the code base. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
still
I
in the
understand.
bUnit renderer, and
Yeah,
we are in find
if you want
component.
to, can you do a feature branch, and then you can push that. So because
Should I
have
revert
good
a bit of
sense
stuff
how-
until we are back to a compilable
No,
state?
I am fine if you push that. Just do a VIP commit to because then I will have a quick look, because I can remember, due to many cuts, I can remember most of the code flow there. So I feel confident I can take us through the whole flow of things. And let me see, by the way, whether or not I succeeded in doing a release. bUnit actions, did we actually manage to do a release?
I think so. At least I got an email.
Release. Yeah, okay, yes. So that's usually
Which is normally a good sign, which is normally a very good sign.
So what is the name of the branch, Stephen?
Feature-component-state.
Yes, let me steal the stage, and let's open this up in Visual Studio. Oh no, that's the wrong Visual Studio. We need Visual Studio Preview to be able to do .NET 9 stuff. Come on, Visual Studio. Come on. And close all tabs. Let's go back and have a look at your changes.
Okay, yeah.
Did
No,
you
I
save
guess
the changes?
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah.
But
yes, it's just.
I have a working version now. I screwed up myself.
Okay. Hey, did you
I
push that?
may wait. No, I meant commit. So wait. Git push. What? Yeah. Git. Yeah, I meant it. Sorry. Can you please git pull with a rebase?
Yes. That's actually that's my default. Okay.
That's good. That's a very nice, sensible default.
Let's see. bUnit renderer. Come on. Come on, come on. And we need to zoom a bit. Let's go to full screen. So let's see, what are we working with here? We have our rendered components and
Oh, I
structure.
only have 1,600 rest tests. Yeah, no problem.
Dispatch event async, that's fine. Find components. So find components will call this find component, which will call this find component. And let's go to, we should start by getting that to work.
Why did I use the activator create instance of the Copilot?
What do you mean?
Obviously did not. Yeah, it did not work. It did not work. We only have like 1,600 rest tests, but that's just a small detail.
Yeah. Frame collection. Yeah, so this log here is really what we want to be doing. I am inclined to drop doing that and say in here, and this is the issue. Basically, we want to just stop doing things if we have disposed after we go into the log, because race condition between user code. User code is the code that will call find components. Now, in here, we can just do turn and move this in here, and this can just be instead of that, we just return a list of I rendered component of G component from this guy. And oh no, hang on. Oh, I see what's going on here. Move that in there, and then return results. And the reason why we do that is because this calls itself recursively. Now, here, get a load. And there was some misunderstanding. I had, I misunderstood a bunch of things that were going on here. And so the reason why we had this load free into, and then, checking whether or not it's already there and all of that was just me not understanding really what was going on with that, because I was seeing the same component in the tree multiple times. So that was because we weren't detecting that we were disposing. And when the renderer gets disposed, it should basically stop all attempts at accessing the component tree, because the component tree will go into an invalid state. So yeah, that's the thing. Now, but essentially what we want to do is we want to get all the frames for a given component, and we start with the parent component, which is this guy, the parent component ID. Then we start searching from that on and downwards. And what you do is you say, well, how many frames do I have? And you pull that out. You say if my type is a component, and if my type is of the component I want, I can take set component and call get rendered component. Here we do want to pass in the no, we just want to actually pass in the component ID. And the get render component, that was the thing you just created. And that should essentially just do this bit here. Now, so now we're just pulling out. This is our version of get component state. We just just call get rendered component instead of a specific type. So that is basically wrapping the get component state method. So get component, get rendered component of T component, and we add that to the result. Why are you complaining? The name result does not exist in the current. It's because it's inside the log. Fair enough. Let's put it out. Fine. Do that. So, and if we've reached, so sometimes we would only search for, and we can actually go and do, we can optimize this a little bit. We can say result limit and set that the list size so we don't allocate more than we need and we avoid reallocation. So if we reach the count, we just return whatever from here. Otherwise, if we found a component, we basically search that component's child components. And after we've done that, we check do we have the limit and we return. So we basically return recursively up. So that fixes the find component. Now, so that's the find component logic. So let's scroll up to the top again. Sorry, I know it's spamming past. So we have render fragment, we have dispatch events async, all of these are fine. Then we have find component, which is the one we entered into, and that's find components plural. We could in theory just reduce these down to just have the single method and always just have find component and then people just have to specify the amount they want. But
well, no, I do like different components. That makes sense to have around.
Yeah. Okay, actually, so my optimization here would be create a list, but I don't want to allocate a list of int max because that's a bit overkill. So if that is equal to int max, then let's just do, if that's equal to int max,
make mask min, mask clampo you want to have.
Yeah, no, let's just do this. Otherwise, we do actually use the read limit. Right, because then it'll do whatever default it has. So
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just in the meantime trying to make our activator create instance a bit more cacheable.
Yeah, so I would go and have a look because Blazor is actually instantiating all components using activator as well, like the component activator, but they have some built-in caching mechanism that we can probably steal. Now, dispose components, again, we want to make sure that we only do it if we're not disposed, and then we go into our unlock, and then we try to dispose each of our root components by calling detach. This is something that I think we are likely to want to refactor, but this is fine. Just our root components, which we do store, is the one where we put the render fragment, and we detach basically just remove the render fragment that is all the child components below that and forces them to re-render, which again causes everything to work. So that's probably fine. So that method we can look close, and then we can see create component state. Yeah, all of this looks all right. Then we have resolve component for render mode. That's just an overload we need because new thing, .NET 8. Add pending task. Here we add disposable task to queue. Well, that's us tracking whether or not we're disposed or not. So that's basically keeping track and preventing us from re-rendering stuff unless we need to. So this is basically that thing that is blocking us from blocking any renders going on while we're disposing. So let's say set direct parameters. What are we doing there? We are getting calls from here. We're passing in our rendered component, parameter view, and this set direct parameters method I wonder if in component state, if that's public now, because we actually have access to that. I think it might still be, no, it's still internal. So we still need to use reflection to actually call that method to basically set the parameters directly. So yeah, that's still something we need to do. All of that is fine. That stays the same. And here's our static helper for that. Now, then we have process pending render. That logs and then it blocks things. So now we get into interesting things here. So this update display async, prepare render event, apply render event. Here, so all of this was sort of an attempt by me to make, things work in a specific way. Now, essentially, if we go to rendered component type, so that's fine. Instance is disposed, markup. We have render count, we have our nodes. All of those are based on the markup. We have our services, we have our renderer, we have all of that in here. Right, and we have our HTML parser, which we use whenever there is an update. This method can go away now because we don't need that anymore. We have our on after render events, which is available so that you can listen to a rendered component and see, let me know whenever you have been rendered. So that might be that you have changes to your component state, but not have changes to markup. And then we have updates to markup. Now this is our on render method that is getting called from bUnit. That probably just needs to be internal going forward, which might make us unhappy up here. Yeah.
Where is it called? What are the two references?
So originally it was called, it's called
wait for sure.
Yeah, it's being called by the renderer, because the renderer needs to tell the rendered component, hey, you have new markup, go ahead and do your thing, update yourself. Now we don't need to expose that anymore. We have the instance, we have markup, we have disposed, component ID, render count, node, services, and all that. We can keep that internal now because we don't have that division. So let's go back here, but I do need the method in here, I guess. So we get new markup, and we get the new markup by coming in here to HTMLizer. HTMLizer has a get HTML. That takes component ID, but it does not need to take this guy anymore. It can just take the renderer, and the renderer has a, no, that's fine actually. Let me just go down here and renderer, and where are you guys called from? You're called frames, and what else? We have the result, and it's also being called in here. Sure, that's fine. So if we assign this to a private field instead, and we do this, so that would be renderer.get current, and actually no, it probably needs to be a bUnit renderer. Get, nope, apparently we don't have that exposed anymore. Get current render tree frames, that's that method, and that's protected internal. So we want to override that get or load.
Why do you want to override it instead of just exposing
So
it
that's a
internally?
pattern Microsoft also, like the Blazor team also does that quite a bit with the static renderer. So you just want to have it basically say protected internal new, and then you call,
And you just call base.
yeah, get current render tree frames with a component ID.
But you don't have to, because yeah, okay. Why don't you have to call base in this case? Because why is this not a recursion?
Oh, base. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to call base. Yeah, you're right. And let's do an.
Interesting that this works because you're changing the visibility.
Yes. So
I guess
yeah,
you cannot make it
it's
public, for example. You cannot make it private. I mean, you cannot. It's interesting that this works.
new declared internal.
Yeah, you cannot take away the protected, I guess. Then you get a compiler error.
No, but it's complaining that it's new protected member declared in shield type. I'm not sure I understand the problem there. Anywho, let's go back over here, and now we can call that one, and we can say component ID, and it will return to us an array range of frames. There we go. And these are still the same. Now, if you scroll up here again, so now we are back here, and we just pass in our renderer. That would be the unit 1 though. So we have our context, and that is count. And here we need to change this to be array range of frames, and that would be count. So now this is looking more close to
Blazor.
To the original one from Microsoft. Here you'd have to do dot array to access that. Let's go down here. That would be again one of those guys, and do array, and it's turtles all the way down. Oh, dot array, yes. Copilot is catching up on what I'm doing here. So go back. Array then, and that would be dot array, and this is count instead. Okay, looks like that was it. Now, if we go back again to where this that was a public method, that's get, that's to Blazor, is Blazor to Blazor, private, where is the render method? Oh well, we can just go back, so not to that one, go back to rendered component, and now it's getting called by the including the renderer. And I guess in our, now I'm in rendered component, and we have our renderer passed in. Let's store this in a field, so we have that available to us as well. And go back here to where we do the markup updating. That would be in here, update markup. So basically that will say latest rendered node. We will go pull the markup, and we would write that back. Now in here, we do have our on render. And all of that. Now, actually, probably want to do an in render batch here, render batch, because what we do want to know is if we've been disposed, we just return. Now, if render batch dot disposed component IDs
Contains. You're looking for? Huh?
change, yeah,
Does it
probably
have
not
that?
the
No.
most efficient thing because then we will be searching through each and every one of those. Actually, dispose method here, because we are inheriting from component state. Component state, do you have? So the dispose method might already be called at this stage, right? So I just want to see, is it the dispose async? It does implement dispose async, dispose and batch async. So we want to come in here and say we have a dispose method somewhere in here. Yes, we want to say override dispose async. And yes, we do want to call our base type, but we also want to, nope. I wanted a block. I want to say, I basically want to call my dispose method. Right. I want to call this guy because we want to tell ourselves that we've been disposed. So if we get in here and we disposed, we already return. But then I don't think.
Do you have to call that? Do you need this if anymore?
No, so I want to say, because we probably want to loop over. Let's see. In the renderer. Right, where will we update, process pending, update display async. So here we get our render batch in, and we can do we basically want to do 3 loops, like basically the ones we have here. Let's do that. Well, we can start with the first one. Here, so basically we have our render batch, disposed, count. We loop over that and we say, get the ID out, and if, so I guess there's a difference here in that this might not be needed, but because the dispose method we just overrode in the component state might or have been called before. If that's always the case, that component state's dispose method is called before update display async is called, then we don't need to deal with that. So, but if it's not the case, then we need to do basically get rendered component. Well, I guess we have rendered components. We have the rendered components here, and it has so basically that would be an if render components try get value int ID out component state. We can just preempt that by calling. And actually, why don't we just store, instead of storing component state up in this, we can store the I rendered component here.
That's that we had before, didn't we? I think.
Yes, I think. So here we would just say, well, we get rendered component out, and we can just call dispose on that. So now it's disposed, but this. Disposed components before.
Well, the thing is, or the problem is, even if he does our internal state is still not this. Oh no, sorry, no.
Yes, it is.
No,
It
no,
is. It
continue.
is supposed.
Continue. Yeah, you overrode. You overrode. Sorry.
But you may want to do rendered components dot remove ID, right? Because we don't want to keep tracking it at this stage. Now, so that's for the disposed. Then we have update components, and then there's a whole bunch of if it's rendered or if it's not rendered. And if child component of current component has been disposed, there's no reason to load yada yada yada. Yeah, assumes all of these things doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I'm going to do something like this. Well, just delete it, right? Just delete. And now also prepare. So we look for updated components, and then we mark them as updated. Now, one thing that might be missing from this new version here would be that, so now we have this. Basically, we looped over that. And the key here is expected. Oh, I have a parentheses issue here. Now, the key here is that we don't want to, we only want to, so you only want to, well, let me put it in a different way. The components that we've returned to the user, the rendered components, like when people call find components, right? We will store them here in the render components dictionary so that we know that whenever there's a new re-render happen, we need to go in and update the markup for them, right? But we only want to update the markup for those components that have actually re-rendered. Now, I do have a sneaky plan about actually, because literally what you would want to do is whenever you render something, you can go and update the markup. If you update the markup from the root components, right, all the markup will be generated for all the components all the way down to the base level, right? So what we could be doing is we could basically, so you only loop through the whole update my markup for all the components one time. And because we have access to, the full componentry, we can just go in and actually do by updating the HTML analyzer, we can go and say, well, HTML analyzer tracks whenever you start rendering a new component. So you would see that in here. So we go to render call. Render call looks for a type of, if it's a new component that starts. When you start to render that, you can actually say this part of the string that is generated, the markup string, that belongs to this component, so that the sort of the raw markup string we have in here, that is just a span of the single large string that represents the full componentry from the root component all the way to into each of the components. And then each of the individual components will have a span of that string that represents the part that they were responsible for spitting out. Right? But right now what we're doing is, and that's sort of the quick fix, or which we also do in the current version, is that we basically go through each component, we return to the user, and then we generate the markup, for them. So that means that we're generating some of the same markup multiple times. But here, what we do is we go into this list now, updated components, and for each of the updated components, we find the ID, updated component array ID that should return a render tree diff. What do we get out of that? I'm trying.
So you have to click on the var, then you can see it.
Oh yeah, it's a render tree diff, and it has.
And that has a component ID.
And it also has the something. Yeah, so we can do we can say diff here, diff, and we can do diff.id component ID. We get hopefully get our render component out, and instead of calling dispose on this guy, we can call
On render.
update yourself, whatever that method is. Let's go and have a look
And then it
here.
internally calls on render.
Yeah, so that would
How's it called?
be well. So
On
that's
there, yeah.
no. So that's the method I removed, but I want to return that back to us. So you want to basically want to call on render, and let's mark this as an well. It's an internal interface. So yeah, can just keep that around, and we can pass in the in render batch here. Render batch. So I'm now there is a thing here, and I believe that our diff gets the changes to the render tree since previous state. So this would actually, we can change this to say, because we want to differentiate between bool, maybe call this on. Well, that's actually, let's steal the name, right? So we have an well, maybe on after render. Bool has changes. Now, if we go back to our component friend here and do this and make this an internal.
The semicolon, the most right one, is problematic right now.
That's right. Yeah. So if it's disposed, we just don't do anything. What are you complaining about? Oh, I have 2 of those.
Oh yeah, the events where users
it's
can
an event.
hook
Yeah.
into.
Cycle completed. And so making up names as we go here. Where did that go? Here we go. So our, well, I guess it's implicitly internal, so there's no need to.
Yeah.
So if we go back to the bUnit renderer, here we would say render cycle completed is our diff dot, let's just look at the properties of the diff.
We need something in edit, huh?
What? They changed the keyboard bindings. So I used to be able to click on only fields, only methods. Wait. Oh, it's a field. Edits. Ah, I see. Edits dot count bigger than 0. So this basically says if it has changes, then there needs to be edits in here. Now, I think this so yeah, that's true. We can come into a situation where we actually replace the component instance. And how we detect that? We detect that by, I'm not sure. Well, let's see if that's still relevant.
When is the
so
instance replaced?
Yeah, I think because we're using component state. So I think actually what we might want to do, we might not want to have this. We might want, this should probably just be a hash set instead of integers, because we want to go and we want to keep track of the components we return to the user. So we want to say here contain, well, if I can spell, contains ID. If it contains the ID, Then we go and find our var rendered component and get component state of ID, and we can just pass that to cast. That's the word I was looking for. I rendered component. So we cast that to that, and then we can call dispose of that. And then we can do the whole
if we just called this pose, then
we can actually do this.
then we have to make sure that yeah, well, yeah.
So this might not be needed because it might be handled. So the idea is, instead of us having a reference to the rendered component, which is a component state, which might have the thing where it updates the so before we had a rendered component, we would return that to the user, and that was their, whatever, they found a component somewhere in the tree and they were looking at that. Now, it could very well be that a re-render would cause the previous instance of the component to be replaced by another instance of the component, because we don't have a reference to the component state internally, right? But now we actually do. So when Blazor does that, when they replace it, now we actually know that like now it's literally the instance is just there, right? So it's been replaced. So here again, we want to say if it does contain that means it's a component we've returned to the user, rather a render component so that the end user of bUnit has access to. So now we can go ahead and do this, get that out, diff dot component ID, and we will tell it to update itself. Now, once we've done that, so if we go in here again in this guy, so if it's disposed, we don't do anything. If
it has changes,
it has changes. Sorry, if it doesn't have changes, we just
we do not want to have the render count updated.
I think we may want to do that.
Really? For what purpose?
About?
This has. Oh, you have to mark it as internal then.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You could also leave it there and make the other one public, because the type itself is internal. So it's okay.
Yeah, I think I just need to explicitly implement it. I just don't want it to show up at all. But this is also internal. Yeah, I guess.
That's why I would just make it public for now.
Yeah, public. So
yeah, no, he's happy. But if it doesn't have
previously we did update render count because it was part of a re-render. It existed while a render happened, but we looked at, was it changed, and if it was changed, so we say has changes, and then so if it just rendered, then we would call on after render. If it had changes, we would also say, hey, markup updated. So different people would listen either to, and mostly probably us internally, we would listen to has markup update or has after render, so that you can both trigger on either side. And then update markup will basically just call this method, which will do its thing, reset some stuff, and I believe this file is happy now. Now, if you go back here, close that down, that one should also be happy. That's a decompiled thing. And I do have 8 errors still here. Let's go and have a look at those. That's an old method. Just gonna delete you instead of trying to. And then we have our...
that's just the component ID.
That's the root component ID, which we add now, yeah, because we instantiate our root component, bUnit root component, and then this one, I don't think we need to have here anymore, because we can just return our root component ID instead. And if, well, we need, so I believe now that I don't think there's any case where
You are not.
result will not be completed. But let's do this. So this is going to be, no, rather a render task. So the debug assert is completed is completed at
No, not
least.
necessary.
I think it should always be completed because we don't have any async code in here. Like all of this should be async. Like there's nothing synchronous here. This is just asynchronous.
The other way around.
So
Oh,
no, it will
there's
always
no
complete.
async call. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's synchronous. Yeah, it will always complete synchronously. Actually, we could probably say if, and then do a throw new. Well, it's not really the right exception, but it's the best one instead of having create a custom one. Because then the user, if we ever release this and users start using it and it turns out this doesn't hold, we want them to not have a debug assert, we want them to throw, and I think that's fine.
Well, they would never ever run into debug assert. That's the biggest issue.
No, exactly. Yeah, so that's why I wanted to throw an exception. Now we
Then
can
you can just
basically
remove
say,
that part. Exactly.
yeah. So we would still do result dot
Get component state.
rendered component of
Does it have to
bUnit
be?
root
It has to
element
be a strongly
code,
typed one.
and that would be render task
Dot
result.
result.
Yep, and
so I run a component.
Yep. Okay. What else? Add method doesn't take 2 arguments. Get rendered component. So whenever we call this method, get rendered component, and we do that here, because we are returning a component of user, and we do that find components in components tree when we are searching for the components, then we also return it out, and then we want to store it because that's the component we returned, and this find components is being called here and here. So yes, so that means that this is a list of IDs that represent rendered components that have been returned to the end user. Now,
can we not call it like that? Isn't that easier? Returned rendered component IDs.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
good point.
I'm not a proponent against comments, but this one seems
no.
easier.
Returned rendered component IDs. Yep. Okay. Builds. I want to see what this is about. A serial class cannot introduce a protected member because, sure. Okay. So do I just remove that? Yeah. Okay. I do. Again, let's see. Build. Oh, it's already done. Okay. Moment of truth. Where did my test explorer go? It's down here. I've taken to move it over here now recently. Okay, let's go. I'm guessing that's going to be errors. Yeah.
Only 1,200. I mean, that's almost nothing.
So most likely it's let's see, they're most likely failing with the same problem, all of them. More or less. Okay, actually my assumption was wrong.
Okay,
So
but
there you go.
easy.
Yeah. Okay, let's start by undoing that wrong assumption. Let's see, that was. Hope nobody's dyslexic, by the way. All the fast scrolling up and down, that's probably not super
Just some
helpful.
fragments on the screen.
Yeah. That's the downside with using StreamYard, and I always plan to do something about that in terms of setting something up that will. Where is that render method? Render, there we go. So, yep, this assumption does not hold for now. So, but I guess.
Yeah, get away to get result.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, even if the task is completed, get. You had this logging before. Okay.
Component ID. Component ID. Component ID. And that would be component ID. And there we go. And let's run all the tests again. See if that. At least one test should pass now.
Or fail later.
Come on.
It fails later. Oh yeah, that's also one I had. The activator create instance is the issue. If you go in, or just look for activator create instance where in the bUnit renderer.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not sure what's the problem, because if you look at the, just if you could open in another tab, okay, can you click on rendered component? Like on 216, you have exactly. So if we go back to the constructor, it has 5 arguments. Renderer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Component ID instance. That's because the order is wrong. It starts with the renderer, then component
Wait,
ID.
no. Create instance wants to have the type first. No. That was right. Correct. That was correct. And then you just have the args.
Yeah. Is it
this is an integer.
That
might be the problem.
Yeah. So.
But you can cast that to T component.
We can just say this is I component. Oh, here I component, and then we can do. We know that it's going to be T component because that's what we're doing.
Well, okay, yeah, that also works.
T component, and actually, we still need to have the right type. Yeah, that's fine. I was about to say we can just skip the activator. Yeah. Okay.
No, I was instead of, but you can make this work. So my plan, what I did while you were coding, is probably what we want is not the activator create instance, but we want to have from this type, from rendered component type, we want to have the constructor, and this is cacheable. But we can maybe look this is later time or the next time how to do that. It's still not correct.
Of type.
The thing is, does activator create instance work on non-public? Do we have to somehow specify?
Think so, but we can certainly just make this public because it's still an internal class, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
but it might be what you're saying. Let's just try running one test and see if we get. Come on. Hey.
Yeah. Okay, it was really that. Probably would have even worked before with the T component because it was a generic type. I don't want to bet on that, but I would think it would have worked also before. It was just this public eternal thing. Yeah. Why is it not executing all the tests? Or welcome to Deadlock Island.
Some event dispatching is. Oh, it's because we have wait for that is default to 30 seconds. So,
oh yeah, I can. Yeah.
Anyway, let me push this for now. There's probably some things with some updates not getting through correctly. I have to go and do the whole kids things. It's that time of the day
I would
for me.
also have to drop off. So something we can pick up
let's
next week.
Bump over here. Yeah. So with that, let's call it a weekend. Have a great weekend, Stephen. Thanks for hanging out.
You too. Yeah, enjoy your free time.
For watching.
Always this time. And see you in a week.
We will be back in a week. So everybody, thanks for coding with us and see you in a week.
Bye-bye. The mandatory